This is Caractacus Potts, inventor extraordinaire. Caractacus had a dream. He believed man could fly. At first, it was hard getting his dream off the ground. But Caractacus had faith and a beautiful sweetheart, 2 charming kids, and an adventurous grandfather. Then Caractacus invented a fantastic magical car. It floats, it flies, and it carries adventure wherever it goes. It took them to castles and palaces and to far-off lands known only in lullabies. It also took them into the clutches of the nasty Baron Bombburst, who ruled over the evil kingdom of Bulgaria, where children were imprisoned and happiness was a crime.
Never before has there ever been such a magical musical entertainment as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Making movies is mostly a game of hurry up and wait. It takes hours to set up the cameras and other equipment just to shoot a 10-second scene. And when it's finished, the waiting starts all over again. What to do with a lot of extra time on your hands can be a problem, unless you're a couple of impetuous young actors named Heather Ripley and Adrian Hall.
Actually, waiting isn't bad at all. Especially if Daddy is there to wait. Well, he really isn't our daddy, you see. He's Dick Van Dyke, and in the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, he plays the part of our father, Caractacus Potts. He keeps us entertained during the long wait between scenes. And if the time flies quickly, it's only because Daddy is always up to something. That's Sally Ann Hughes. She plays Trudy Scrumptious in the picture. When you have a whole day free, there's no better place to spend it than St. Tropez, so Adrian and I struck out on our own, unaware that somebody was watching every move we made. We found out later that he had been right behind us all the time, and while we stopped for some ice cream sodas, he took time out to enjoy the grown-up version, the sudsy stuff. While making this picture, we also traveled through England and Bavaria, but St. Tropez was our favorite. The movie is all about a wonderful car named Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. She floats, flies, and does countless other marvelous things. And that is why she's wanted so badly by the wicked Baron Bombburst, played by Mr. Goldfinger, Gert Frobe. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is about pirates and castles and soldiers and living puppets and a candy factory. It's chock full of adventure and laughter and singing and dancing. It's the most phantasmagorical musical entertainment in the history of everything.
Mr. Van Dyke, could you describe this picture in about one paragraph? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
That'd be a long paragraph, I think. I play the part of a unsuccessful inventor with 2 children who lives in a windmill. And we find this car in a junk heap and refurbish it, and it has magical properties. It flies, it'll hover on the water, do almost everything. And the nefarious Baron Bombburst, played by Gert Frobe, tries to kidnap the car, and we end up in Bulgaria, where most of the adventures with the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang take place. But it's an inverted world where all the adults are children, and all the children have to live in a dungeon. It's terrible.
Where did you first hear the script of this film, and what were the circumstances?
I heard about it in Hollywood. Cubby Broccoli, the producer, came to Hollywood to talk to me about it, and I had never heard of the story, or even knew that Ian Fleming wrote a children's story. I don't think most people do know that. And that was the first time I heard about it. I went home that night and asked my kids. They'd all read it. They knew all about it.
How do you find working with Ken Hughes, the director of this film?
Ken is just exactly my kind of a director because he doesn't regard the script as engraved in stone exactly. You know, if you want to ad-lib or change things around, if you get a good idea, it's perfectly all right with Ken. So that's the kind of director I like to work with.
And how do you find working with Sally Ann Hughes?
Well, how could I find It's a pleasure.
Could you compare your role here, or your style of role here, with that of Mary Poppins?
I don't know. There's a couple of numbers that are kind of like, the numbers we did in Mary Poppins. The man I play, Caractacus Potts, probably has Bert's philosophy, the same outlook on life as Bird in Mary Poppins.
Most everybody thinks that American television is in pretty sad shape. What do you think is wrong with it, and why?
I don't, somebody once said in the paper, one of the papers here, I think, that if the newspapers in the United States depended on a rating system the way television does, it would be 10 pages of comic strips. And I wonder if that isn't true, that the rating system is what's the matter with television. I think that we should just diversify it in some way so that small groups of people, you know, with interest can watch something that they're interested in. It's all that lowest common denominator thing or something. I'd like to see the rating system go.
Dick, in Divorce American Style, which is now a hit throughout the country, many critics noticed that it was rather a new Dick Van Dyke. One, although the movie, half of it is a funny, howling comedy kind of thing, a lot of it is a biting kind of honesty to it. What is most rewarding to you, doing something, a realistic type part like that, or again a part like this in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, a fantasy?
Well, it's probably the most fun doing a fantasy like this, a children's show or comedy. I get the most fun out of it. But the minute I read the script on Divorce American Style, I grabbed it right away when they offered it to me. Because I think that, you could say the truth better with humor than you can say it any other way, because people don't forget it. And I think this picture, despite the fact that it's got laughs in it, it has an undercurrent of, as you said, it's biting. But I think it really says it. I've taken people to that picture who had to leave. Right in the middle, it got so close to home they couldn't take it.
Dick, what about the Dick Van Dyke show going off the air? What was the reason for that?
Well, we all voted. Everybody took a vote. We only had a 5-year contract, so at the end of the 5 years, we decided to vote on it. And most of us felt that we want to quit while we're still proud of it. I don't know. When they go 8, 10 years, it seems like you either run out of ideas or get a little stale or something. Well, but I get a little homesick.
Looks like they're going to go for another 8 or 10 years, though, because we've got them coming back pretty strong.
In the daytime?
Yes.
Good.
What do you think of fashion and the mini skirts we've been seeing here in London?
I don't mind the mini skirts, but the mini skirts, I don't know. I don't mind it. We go down to Kings Road and Carnaby Street. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. And I think it may be an overreaction to conformism on the part of the kids, but I think it looks pretty good to see individuals dressing the way they want. It's colorful. The rest of us in our plain gray suits go down there and watch them.
Dick, do you have a favorite scene in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that you enjoy doing more than any of the others?
Well, we've only been shooting now 3 weeks, and we've been working on a number called Toot Sweets, which takes place in a big candy factory. And we're still working on that, and we're having a ball with it. As a matter of fact, I just pulled a muscle in my leg. I got a little too energetic in the number.
Dick, in watching some of your reruns of your show and seeing you now in person and in Divorce American Style, especially when you took off your shirt in the bathroom ballet moment to it, you look like you're in the peak of condition. You're getting broader and broader. How do you stay in shape? And how have you gotten so much more sturdy looking than you once were?
Where am I getting broader and broader?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, for about a year, I lifted weights and things. I only weighed 140 pounds, and I'm 6'1". And in a year, I gained about 20 pounds. And I've stayed about the same. I'm right around 160 now. Play a lot of tennis. Although here, I have a little squash court in the house we're renting, and I've taken up squash. And is that a fast game? But it's fun.
You're filming here in London. What do you miss most about America while you're here?
Hamburgers. I swear, hamburgers. Because you can't get a hamburger. No, they just don't have it. If you go to the butcher and ask for a hamburger, they don't know what you mean. You have to ask for minced meat. And it's not the same somehow.
What do you get?
Minced meat.
Dick, in this scene that takes place in the candy shop, it's pretty wild, huh? What actually happens in there?
Well, I play an inventor, so I've invented a candy that whistles. Oh. It also is edible, and so we call it Toot Sweets. And in my effort to sell Lord Scrumptious, the manager of the Scrumptious factory, these sweets, we have evolved into a dance number called Toot Sweets. And all the workers in the factory join in, and we're spilling candy all over the place.
The kitchen must be fairly interesting.
Yes, it is. Big colored vat. They've done an interesting thing. It's a color picture, but that entire set is black and white or gray. And the only things that are brightly colored are the candy boiling in the big vat. And it looks interesting on film. Very stylized.
Let me change the subject for just a second and ask you to go back to this family business. What do you think is the most important element to keep a family cooking properly?
Oh, I don't know. Well, of course, I think that if you have a religious faith, that and keep your kid in the church along with the family up to a certain age, the church will lose them when they're 15 or 16 years old until they're about 25, I'd say. 25, 30 years old. But I think it's a groundwork that you can't overlook. Some kind of, value outside themselves. I think you got to have it.
To the south of London, among the gently rolling downs of Sussex, near the village of Ditchling, dwells a singularly improbable personage named Emmett. Strolling through the quaint countryside, he seems no more extraordinary than a country squire taking the morning air. But to those who know...
Typical English eccentric. That must be the inventor.
Hidden away inside a cunningly picturesque 18th century forge is Emmett's workshop. Here, like Dr. Frankenstein, new life is created from discarded bits and pieces. Emmett's monsters, however, are not pseudo-humans, but delicate and whimsical mock machines. This is the domain of Roland Emmett, the Ditchling Tinkerer. Emmett resides with his wife, Mary, at Wild Goose Cottage, though nary a goose, wild or otherwise, is known to inhabit the immediate vicinity. Still, there is something a bit untamed about the premises. Objects have a tendency to disappear. The tinkerer is loose, collecting the necessary ingredients for a new creation. For Emmett combines ordinary oddments into extraordinary flights of imagination. His studio is a rather antique dovecot at the bottom of the garden. Here the metamorphosis begins, where a tea caddy and a seashell are integrated into a new Emmett Whatsit. Roland Emmett first came to the world's attention as a cartoonist. His particular brand of nonsense has been described as a kind of deep dish Victorian parody of modern manners and technology, full of gentle Gothic whimsy. Most renowned of Emmett's graphic creations is the infamous far-tottering and Oyster Bay Railway, a sometimes working model, constructed for the Festival of Britain in 1951, flung Emmett deep into the mire of three-dimensional construction, an accident from which he has not yet extracted himself. Emmett's current mechanical model involves the creation of a clockwork lullaby machine, a portable hairdressing saloon, and a gentleman's moon rocket outfit, all improbable props for the motion picture Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a splendidly magical motor machine created by the Emmett-like inventor, Caractacus Potts, who's played by Dick Van Dyke in the film. Headquarters for the cinemization of the Ian Fleming story is England's Pinewood Studios, where that well-known cast of thousands has been toiling for months to bring the musical to the screen. Creation of this phantasmagorical entertainment presented producer Albert Broccoli with a pride of problems, signing the perfect cast, including Dick Van Dyke, Sally Ann Howes, Heather Ripley and Adrian Hall, Gert Frobe, James Robertson Justice, and Lionel Jeffries. This was only one problem to be resolved. Finding the right location was another, for filming took place in France and Bavaria as well as England. And then there were the huge musical numbers to stage. But these were large, massive problems, easily dealt with by the man who helped bring James Bond to the screen. More difficult was the delicate and wispy puzzle of creating the matic machines Van Dyke's Caractacus Potts invents in the film. Where was the answer to be found? Where but Ditchling and Roland Emmett, who so perfectly personifies Potts' potty approach to technology.
I became involved in this film for various reasons. I've built a great number of rather pathetic inventions in the past, and I believe that the sponsors of the film could see some affinity between Caractacus Potts, who of course is Dick Van Dyke, and myself. We both try very, very hard, but never quite pull off what we're after. I've made, I think it's 8 devices in all for this picture. I think one could say from design to finish. About 6 or 7 months it took me to make these.
Once completed, Emmett moved his splendid gaggle of gewgaws to Studio K Pinewood and the set of Potts' workshop.
Now this is the Potts Clockwork Lullaby machine. There's a little array of cat bells at the top which join in, and the amplifier is a great seashell backed up by a horn, which is a sheet of music from one of the Brahms lullabies. But it's rather confused thinking. Now, the thing about Potts is that he was always ahead of his time, and here we have Visivision, which was his idea of, well, I suppose we must say television, his idea of, anyway, snatching pictures out of the air in 1910. It's not entirely successful, and although it does produce here a picture and in color, it seems to have got stuck on one picture. The Potts sunflower washing up machine. Now, this is rather a dreadful thing, and I think it's one of Caractacus Potts' least successful ventures. This is the Little Dragon suction cleaner. This little dragon is a most temperamental little beast, and if it loses its temper, it either suddenly chews the carpet to shreds or sucks up the entire carpet, which is never seen again. People often think of me and my machines as eccentric. I think this is awful. We're not eccentric, any of us. We're different, yes, but I think, now, my machine here, this is the way machines ought to go. Granted, it doesn't do the job, but still. Now, this is a large, full-bodied machine of most imposing proportions. It's really for making lollipops and toffee apples and jelly babies. It seems to do all right with the toffee apples. The jelly baby situation's rather confused. The most astounding thing about this machine, however, is that it suddenly and inexplicably begins to produce a magic whistling sweet, which has a great deal to do in the film and actually later makes Caractacus Potts' fortune. You know, I've spent an awful long time with these things, and when you've done that, you grow very attached to it. At least I do. I've grown very attached to these things, and I know them all by name, and, you know, they're temperamental, and sometimes they won't play, sometimes they will, and, you know, you go around, you have a word here and there, and you give them a pat and so on. I don't know, they're like a family to me, and when I lock up the workshop at night and go away, I often wonder what they get up to, or whether they just sit there waiting for me to come back, and whether they think about me as I do about them, or whether, you know, just what does go on after the door's shut at night. Oh, well, I suppose I shall never know.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's a legend. It's a magical motor car. Many years ago, way back in 1960s, I was Pierre the Clown. I played clown for many years, and my act was the motor car that fell to pieces, which was an old Model T Ford. And in 1966, my agent said to me, there's a film being made called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's about an extraordinary motor car. I said, well, what do they want me to do? He said they might want your car to fall to pieces in one of the scenes in the film. And we'd set it up and show them what it could do. And in the end, they decided the car was terrific. It did everything, but they had to have it do it straight away. Bang, everything should fall off straight away. But with my old Model T Ford, my circus act, that didn't happen. And while we were discussing all that, they said, oh, would you like to look after the actual motor car itself and be involved? I said, yes, I would. Thank you very much. I would stand by just in case they need something moved. Hold this, do that, move this, shake that. If it was drivable, I used to drive it to the various locations. But the wonderful position I've got, that I ended up with a motor car. And that's really, really, very magical. It was based on an old car that raced at Brooklands in the 1920s. It had a Zeppelin engine out of the First World War flying airships of the Germans. There was about 3 or 4 Chitties. There was one that was actually made onto a speedboat chassis because that had to skim along the water at Saint-Tropez. Chitty Gen 11, which I own, that was in most of the driving sequences. There was 1 or 2 small models, yes. There was a little miniature made of that for various scenes. In 1973, I did inquire what is going to be the future of these wonderful motor cars. I said, well, I would be very, very interested. And so I then bought 2 Chitties from Cubby Broccoli. Even now, 30 years later, Chitty still continues to tour the British Isles, and she's very well known the world over, wherever you go. We've been to Germany, we've been to France, we've also been to Australia, and various other places around the world. And it's magic. When I go around, people turn their heads so much they nearly turn off. It's quite phantasmagorical. Chitty might be magical, but still has to be cleaned. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, this is Chitty's gleaming bonnet. It's the wonderful aluminium made out of the tin bath, but it's got to be cleaned all the time. So if anybody can clean it, give me a hand and we'll do it together, all right? And this is the lovely tyre. These are the original tyres, Goodyear. We've had to now research some other tyres. This is one of the spares, which is a very beautiful spare. And these are these wonderful lamps, these off a lovely old classic motor car, and they're really beautiful. And they need to be cleaned all the time, so it makes Chitty very, very beautiful. And this lovely leather seating, this wonderful Connolly leather, this lovely glowing red. And of course the woodwork, as you can see, is pure magic because it's really wood. It's not plastic. A lot of film props were made out of odds and ends, but this is real craftsmanship. Wonderful thing. That lovely brass there again, all has to be cleaned because when you've got to go to a show, you need to make sure that the car shines. Everybody's jealous of this wonderful bodywork. Oh, by the way, seatbelts. Got to have seatbelts. Because if you don't have seatbelts, because everybody's got to be belted up, because if you don't belt up, you might have an accident. And I think that should always be remembered when you're driving, always belt up in whatever country. And this is the wonderful picnic basket, as you can see, and the little pussycat. Pussycat, pussycat, where have you been? Have you been to London to see the Queen? Marvellous, because you see, she looks after everything. And I've got to get what we call a nice bowl of milk for her, all right? Now, you'll be all right. See you later. Now, this is the cloud closer. If you don't close the cloud, then it starts to rain. Now, the one in the front of Chitty is the cloud opener, and this is the cloud closer. So when you're travelling at 30,000 feet with your seatbelts on, you must close the cloud, otherwise it can be very, very, very wet. Underneath the basket is the LPG tank, which is liquid petroleum gas, environmentally friendly. So when we're flying around, we don't hurt the birds and the bees, or the flowers or the trees. Now, this is Chitty's exhaust. I mean, let's face it, all that wonderful noise from the engine, and you hear this roar of the exhaust roaring away, and that gives you the speed and the power to fly. This is this marvellous steering wheel. It's a little bit wood left over from the actual bodywork. So Caradicus made it into this wonderful steering wheel with all the lovely brass workings. And these are magical. In case you get a bit thirsty in flight, this is lemonade, chocolate juice, and marmalade juice, and that's very good. The marmalade juice on the sandwiches when we're flying. I'm still working on the bell. This is the bell. All ships have a bell because Chitty is a boat and I suppose could be a ship. And here is the aerometer, so I know how high I go. 500 metres, 6,000 metres. So therefore I've got to be very careful that that is all working in order. And it is, you see, because I could never take off if that's not working. Oh, by the way, the letterbox. Chitty gets thousands of fan mails from all over the world. They come some email and come by letterbox and a little grubby old stamp stuck on the envelope. And it says Chitty Stratford-on-Avon or Chitty England. And they all come to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in Stratford-on-Avon because that's where she lives. The wings that are on Chitty now are sort of a fiberglass wing, which I use for showing everybody that Chitty does have wings. I feel very responsible and very proud to have the motor car. People wave and I sort of wave back because it's nice to be, not me being recognised, but the car being recognised, and you can just imagine the lips saying, oh, there's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That, you don't, I'm sure it isn't. Yes, it is. It was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Quite amazing.